Hello, everybody. It's Rich220. And I just want to correct a couple things because people are flying off the handle thinking I'm snapping at them and everything. I'm not snapping at you. I'm pissed because I've gotten bad advice from one or two people that have made my past 6 months a living hell, okay? And I posted all these videos about it showing these people, but they're not understanding that. Anyway, the problem is that when you're telling somebody that you have to pay attention to the rocker arms, the first one goes down, it comes back up, and it's even with the second one. Okay, they're trying to say that that's the compression stroke. Well, here's the problem that I'm having with that. Okay, first of all, it's a four-stroke engine. It has intake, it has compression, it has power, and it has exhaust. Okay, you cannot tell by looking at that rocker arm if it's at top dead center. And this is what everybody's been alleviating from the information that they've been giving me is that the number one piston has to be up. Okay, and those rocker arms have to be even with one another, and the rotor has to be pointed at number one, and the timing gears have to be, the top one at 6 and the bottom one at 12. Okay, that's all that had to be said. I'm trying to listen to people. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel that there are some people out there that want to help, but there are some people that just want to make chaos, drama. And those are the people that have caused this channel not to succeed. They've caused this channel to crash because I've had to make so many freaking videos on this same car for as long as I have because I couldn't get the proper information that I needed. I actually had to walk away from my friends on YouTube and Facebook and go talk to my old boss at a garage that I worked at. And yes, I have worked at garages, more than one, okay? And I've worked on timing chains before, and here are the cars that I've worked on. A 1965 Ford Fairlane 500 with a 289 engine. That needed a timing chain, it needed intake manifold gaskets, it also needed lifters and an oil pump, okay? So that is one of the cars I've worked on. The other one was a 1950 Dodge Coronet. It had a flathead 6. That needed a timing chain. And that is the one where the timing mark on the gear was in the wrong place. It was a tooth off. And I have a person that helped me with that car that can testify to that. It was in the wrong place. It was a manufacturer screw up. Okay? And people have been arguing with me about that too. Oh, manufacturers don't screw up. Yeah, they're mass produced, folks. So there's a good tendency for them to screw up. Whether you believe it or not, it's the truth, okay? Okay, so we got the 65 Fairlane and the 50 Dodge Coronet. Then I worked on a 1978 Ford Thunderbird with a 351 Windsor. That needed a timing chain because those gears on that have a fiberglass coating on the outside of the cog or gear or whatever you want to call it. And once that falls off and starts breaking away, your timing chain is going to, act like it's stretched when really it's actually the fiberglass stuff that's falling off of the cog or gear, which is causing the timing to slip. Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to think what else. There's a couple other cars that I've worked on that have had this problem before. Okay. And like I said, I've never done the head gaskets, so that was a new thing for me. And I know what push rods are. I know what rocker arms are. I know what valves are. I've never had to take a valve out of a head before, and that was really discouraging me because I kept getting defective tools. The two that I have are from Japan, and they were garbage. They barely got one out. Okay. And then I bought a tool from a auto parts store. Well, the only thing it did was it put pressure on the spring and pulled the spring up off the valve. So that was defective in my mind because it didn't do what I needed it to do. And The third one, the third one was an advanced auto parts rental tool that as soon as I put it on the head and the valve, once I got the keepers out, the tool snapped while it was still on the valve spring. So you can imagine how happy I was about that. Let's see. So all in all, in total, it was two cheap Japanese tools that I bought that didn't do nothing. And the third one was from Advanced Auto Parts that lifted the spring up off the valve, but didn't compress it to the point where I needed to get the keepers out. It just allowed the valve to go up and down, easy without any pressure being put on it. So I was never able to get that out with that tool. And like I said, the fourth one was a rental from the same parts store, but the second one was also a defective tool that had to be returned. And I turned around and I convinced the guy to let me use the tool so that way I could get the last one out because I was determined at this point. I was totally pissed off and aggravated. And like I got friends on here. What is it? Randy and this guy from Outlaws, whatever it is, Garage. Um, I'm not trying to treat anybody like a dog, dude. I'm really upset because there are a couple of people that have actually given me bad advice that have caused this channel to crash instead of succeeding, and I think that would really piss anybody off. Okay, I've been going around making maximum effort with very little progress. Okay, and that's very discouraging, for somebody who's in my position where I'm over 50. I have a stent in my arteries. I get high blood pressure. I have arthritis in my right foot. I'm overweight and I'm out of shape. But yet I still get up underneath a car and work on it. A lot of people were calling me stupid because I didn't take the block out of the car and work on the engine that way. Well, after they started that, I went and got an engine hoist. And you know what? I never used it. It's sitting in the carport now. Okay. They told me to get an engine stand. Okay, well, here's the problem with the engine hoist and the engine stand. I don't have a concrete sidewalk driveway or a paved driveway. Okay, part of my driveway is paved, and the other half of it is stones about the size of a quarter. Okay, so every time I get up underneath there, even with a piece of cardboard, it doesn't feel good on my back. Okay, so you know, I understand the point about the engine hoist, but that's making more work. Then you got to disconnect the drivetrain, you got to disconnect the transmission, you got to disconnect the flywheel, the torque converter. And I'm not into all that. I just want to get done what I have to get done. And a lot of people were telling me, well, you should just be, replacing all the pistons. I'm like, well, that's kind of stupid because I'm trying to keep this as original as possible, even though that sounds kind of stupid. It's a numbers match engine. So having two valve relief pistons in there is not going to change the oil compression that much. Okay, where it's going to be noticeable. And with the older cars, you use diesel oil anyway because that actually helps out. Where it car may have a lot of wear and tear on it, and it helps lubricate things better. Anyway, but that's what it's all about. That's where it's at. There's four strokes in an engine. Like I said, you have your intake, your compression, you have your exhaust, and your power stroke. Okay, so that's how you tell if your timing is or you're ready to go and put the timing at top dead center. The piston has to be up. So you put the piston up first, then you set the chain in the gears, then you set the rotor. Okay, and then you lock the rotor down, you put everything back together. And that's how it works. I'm not confused. I'm not stupid. I'm not dumb. and I'm not ignorant, and I'm not what they call a closed ear to advice. Um, People may have gotten the bad side of me from me dealing with people who are useless and don't help me out when I need to help. Now, I have shop manuals. I have all of them. But I'm going to tell you right now, I haven't had to open the book once for the most part of what I've done. The biggest concern and biggest problem with this was the timing. It wasn't the head gaskets. It wasn't the pistons. It wasn't the rings. It wasn't the valves and how they come out and how they go in. I know how that works. It wasn't the rebuild of the carburetor. It wasn't painting the car. It wasn't doing metal fabrication. It wasn't doing the door panels. Okay? It was just the timing. And a lot of people that I had talked to, a lot of them gave me good advice. But there's just those couple of bad seeds in the whole group of people that don't give you a certain ingredient of information that's needed in order to do the job properly. And that's what drives a person nuts. Because you go around, maybe I did something. Maybe I did something. Maybe I did something. Maybe I did something. You just keep saying that, because you start thinking and doubting yourself and start thinking, well, I just don't think I can do this anymore. And you give up. And this is what discourages people from rebuilding cars. Okay? The jabbering back at the person, to the point where it's disrespectful to them. Okay? I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anybody, but there are some people that actually have given me bad advice, and because they have, I have removed them. I don't need that. That's not helpful. That's creating more chaos and more drama than it needs to be. So, and yes, this is my channel, but it's not going to grow if I can't, um, if I can't do the job with a clear head. You know what I'm saying? If I'm starting to doubt myself and starting to double think things instead of just going ahead with the way it's supposed to be, then I'm going to cause myself more problems than I need to. So I hope this clears everything up. I hope everybody understands. And, that's where the attitude and everything's come from, because I've had to make all these little short videos showing this and showing that. I had one guy on Facebook even looking at the engine running for 10 seconds. He said, no, there's something wrong with that engine. There's something seriously wrong with it, and it's not running. I'm sorry, but here's the thing. When you pour gas into a carburetor and your fuel line is not hooked up to the fuel pump, and your fuel pump is literally not putting out any gas into the carburetor, and you put gas in the carburetor with a bottle, okay, and you try and fill the bowls, and maybe there's a problem with the jets on the carburetor that it's not spitting out, every time I pull back on the throttle. But whatever gas is going in that carburetor, that's what it's running off of. And when you turn that key and you let go of that key, and that little fan is turning in the front, and you can hear it going doom 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 doom. Okay, when you can hear that, I don't care what you think. I don't care who you think you are. That's a running car. It may not be dialed in correctly or exactly where it needs to be, but it's still a running car. If you disagree with me, then you know what? Then delete. That's all I can tell you. Because, I'm not going to drive myself nuts anymore. The people that have given me good information, they're the ones that are helpful. Randy, Outlaws, Garage, or whatever. It's not an attitude problem, dude. It's discouragement and it's aggravation. That's what it is, And the reason why I'm telling everybody these things is because of the fact that they need to know that it's not pointed at them. It's pointed at the morons that pulled this stuff on me, that caused my channel to crash because their information was useless. Okay? It wasn't helpful. All right, well, I'm going to get off of here. I just figured I'd try and clear some things up and help everybody understand what's really going on here. Okay? Um, leave a comment down below. At this point, what's his name? Outlaw's Garage says I'm not going to exceed or succeed anyway with this channel, and because I got an attitude. Well, if I got an attitude, it's because I'm getting bad advice, or it's because the advice is only partially given, not to the fullest extent, or somebody has a problem with telling people because they forget things or whatever. We all forget things, but there's something that you just don't lose after working on a car for a while. And when you're constantly drilled about the same situation over and over again, you're making that other person think that maybe they screwed up and maybe they haven't, and that's not a good thing to do to somebody. All right, folks. Well, I'll see you in the next one. Um, in any event, I did bring the number one piston up. Um, I had to fix the vacuum advance hose because that broke. You guys saw that. The carburetor is working, but I don't think that the jets are spraying gas out from the bowls. So I'm going to have to take a look at that. But my problem is every time I rotate that distributor left or right, whether I advance it or retard it, then the car won't start. So I'm thinking that it's probably not on the compression stroke. I'm thinking it's probably on a power stroke, or, well, it has to be one or the other because, the exhaust stroke, it's not going to start up on that. But now remember also, when I first got the car, the distributor cap, one is over here, 8 is over here. Well, one was in 8 on the distributor cap. Number 1 spark plug wire was in the number 8 slot on the distributor cap. And I think the number 8 was on number 1. I don't know why. But anyway, it ran briefly before the pistons broke into 4 separate pieces, but they were held in by the rings. So that's the reason why the piston walls were not, the cylinder walls were not damaged. And that's the reason why the car starts now. If it didn't, and it did scar those cylinder walls, it wouldn't start because the vacuum would be escaping, bypassing the rings and going out into, the bottom where the connecting rods are. Okay, so yeah, that's about it. I just figured, I'd try and clear this up because I'm getting a whole bunch of flack from a whole bunch of different people saying that this, that, and the other thing, and it's not that at all. I just, like I said, I don't like being given bad information if you're trying to help. If you don't want to help, that's fine. That's understandable. I would rather somebody not help than to give me bad information. Because my luck, I'm the kind of person that tries to make people happy by doing what they say, and that's probably one of my biggest faults. And it winds up biting me in the butt every time. So, I have to learn to stop doing that and just take the initiative and do it myself and figure out what's up. All right, later on, folks. Bye.